Human personality. Introduction. The word personality means different things to different people. To some people, it refers to the trait or quality that distinguishes one person from another. To others, it refers to a person behind the mask. In this study session, we will examine the various conceptions of personalities, its nature, and types. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Define personality, 2. Highlight types of personality, and 3. Explain theories of personality. Meaning and nature of personality. The word personality is derived from the Greek term personal. It was used originally to describe the theoretical mask worn by some dramatic actors at that time. Townsend, 1993. Over the years, it lost its connotation of pretense and illusion and came to represent the person behind the mask. Human personality has been defined in different ways by scholars and psychologists. Few of such definitions will be examined in this study session. Personality is a psychological concept which deals with the characteristics of human behavior. It refers to such aspects of human beings like appearance, traits, individual uniqueness, style of life, adjustment to the environment, and so on. Hilgard et al. 1979 defined personality as the characteristic patterns of behavior and modes of thinking that determine a person's adjustment to the environment. Burney and Russell, 1998, described personality as an individual's characteristics and enduring patterns of thought, emotion, and behavior. Personality accounts for individual differences among people. It specifies what makes a person unique. Personality, therefore, refers to the uniqueness of an individual when compared with other people. Personality also refers to the consistencies in people's behavior in situations over time, and it develops over the lifespan in response to internal and external influences such as genetic, biological, social, environmental, and cultural factors. Types of personality. Human beings can be categorized by different personality profiles. These may be used in their traits, body constitution, physique, psychological characteristics, and so on. Personality based on build or physique. Sheldon et al. 1940 classified personality according to build or physique. Their classifications are as follows. Endomorph, that is fatty. A short, long person, characterized as sociable, relaxed, and even-tempered. This type of personality is associated with a temperament or chronic emotional condition, that is veserotonia, which emphasizes body comfort, eating, sleeping, and relaxation. Ectomorph, a tall, thin person characterized as restrained, self-conscious, and fond of solitude. This type of personality is associated with temperament, that is cerebrotonia, which lays emphasis upon fast but limited physical movement and inhibition of social response, chronic fatigue, poor sleep habits, etc. Mesomorph, a heavy-set, muscular individual described a noisy, callous, and fond of physical activity. This type of personality is associated with somatonic temperament, with an emphasis upon body movement, a love of adventure, and a readiness for physique competition. Max, 1976. Personality based on psychological characteristics. The Swiss psychiatrist Claude Jung classified human personality into two categories, namely introverts and extroverts. Introverts. These are a group of people who tend to withdraw to themselves, particularly in terms of emotional stress and conflicts. They tend to be shy and prefer to work alone. Extroverts. These are a group of people who have their orientation towards outside. Thus, under stress, they seek the company of others. They are likely to be very sociable and tend to choose occupations that permit to deal directly with people, that is, sales or promotional work. Though it is possible to classify people into introverts and extroverts, some people fall somewhere between the two extremes, and most people are in the middle range of the scale. Personality based on behavior, social or mental disorder. Obsessive to compulsive personality. Obsession is a repetitive, unwanted, intrusive cognitive event in form of thoughts, images, or impulse. For example, a thought of jumping into a well. Compulsion is a realistic act, that is, checking the door severally to see whether it has been locked. Obsessive to compulsive personality, therefore, is an enduring pattern of thinking and behavior that is characterized by perfection and inflexibility. People with this personality are always preoccupied with rules and efficiencies. They are judgmental, extremely conscious, and moralistic. Paranoid personality. It is a type of personality which is characterized by a pervasive tendency to be inappropriately suspicious to other people's motive and behavior. People with this kind of personality always suspect that other people are trying to harm them and therefore avoid such people so as not to injure them. Schimphoid personality. It is a kind of personality with an enduring pattern of thinking and behavior which is characterized by pervasive indifference to other people. People with this personality prefer social isolation to interact with friends or family, for example, living in government quarters. They are socially shy, introverted, unable to form social relationships, and usually loners. Borderline personality. This is a kind of personality in which the borderline individuals are quite moody, emotionally unstable, and appear very liable to further deterioration in personalities. Such individuals are irritable, anxious, and occasionally spontaneously aggressive and have difficulty being alone. Histrionic personality. This was formerly called hysterical personality. It is commonly encountered in clinical practice. It is fond of attention seeking and need a high level of emotional responsiveness from others. Such an individual usually converts his or her psychological problems to physical problems to gain sympathy or attention from people. For example, a wife developing unusual fever when the husband refuses to give her enough money or does not want the husband to travel or go out. Theories of personality. In this section, we shall examine different theories of personality and their implications. A theory is a set of related statements that explain and predict phenomena. Shawangent, 1994. The statements used in a theory can be laws, principles, or beliefs. Baker, 1999, described a theory as a proposed explanation for a set of coordinated occurrences or relationships. Theories are not fixed, rather, they are probable explanations which are formulated and reformulated in an attempt to make sense of a body of evidence. A theory may be inductive or deductive theory. Rubin and Babel, 1997, defined a theory as a systematic set of interrelated statements intending to explain some aspect of social life or enrich our sense of how people conduct and find meaning to their daily lives. Functions of a theory. 1. A theory helps us make sense of diverse observation and see patterns in them. 2. A theory helps direct our inquiry into areas that seem more likely to yield useful information. 3. A theory helps researchers develop useful implications from their findings for practice and policy. Theories of personality development. Some theories offer useful explanation on how an individual acquires his or her personality. Such theories include psychodynamic theories, dispositional theories, learning theories, and humanistic theories. Some of these theories will be examined in this study session. Psychoanalytic theory. The psychodynamic theory states that behavior can be motivated by unconscious, often irrational forces, and that personality and personality development are shaped by intrapsychic, that is, within the mind, events and motives, including intrapsychic conflict among motives that may not even enter consciousness. The psychodynamic theories of personality development are Freud, Jung, and Adler's theories. One of these theories will be discussed in this study session. This is the psychoanalytic theory. Freud, 1940, proposed the psychoanalytic theory of personality development. The theory assumes that the mind has three levels, namely the preconscious, the conscious, and the unconscious. According to Freud, the preconscious level of the mind holds thoughts and feelings that we are not aware of, but which we can rapidly bring into consciousness. The conscious level holds our current thought and feelings, while the conscious level holds unacceptable or repressed impulses and conflicts that we are not aware of, but nonetheless seek to be expressed. Freud opined that human beings are born with instinctual energy called libido, which is characterized by a strong sexual component that underlines pleasurable sensation. According to him, there are two forces in life, namely eros, that is life force, and thanatos, that is death force. The first one leads to preservation of life, that is sex, while the second one leads to destruction of life and property, aggression. The theory assumes a three-part personality structure. These are the id, the ego, and the superego. Id. This is the unconscious, instinctual component of personality. It is the irrational part of the mind. It contains inherited sexual, aggressive, and other impulses that seek immediate expression in behavior. It operates according to the pleasure principle. That is, it does what feels good and seeks immediate gratification for its desires or urges. Ego. This is the second component of personality. It is the partially conscious, rational part of the mind that is in conflict with external reality. Bonnie and Russell, 1998. It mediates between the id's demand and reality constraints. Its main function is to gratify id impulses while protecting the individual from harm. It operates on the reality principle, taking reality into account in channeling id impulses. Superego. This is the third component of personality. It represents the internalized teachings of a person's family and culture on ethics, moral, and values. That is, it provides guidelines for how the individual should behave. It is roughly equivalent to individual conscience. Feelings of guilt result from not yielding to superego demands. Superego operates on idealistic principles. That is, it keeps a person working towards what is ideal. According to Freud, the three parts of personality are in conflict with each other. The ego tries to reconcile the id's impetuous impulses, the superego perfectionist demands, and the outside world's requirements. As a result, the ego uses a host of defense mechanisms to keep the id impulses in check and out of consciousness. Such defense mechanisms include repression, denial, displacement, projection, reaction formulation, rationalization, fantasy, and so on. Sigmund Freud also gave 5 stages by which an individual acquires his or her personality. These he called psychosexual stages of development. These are oral stage, that is 0 to 2 years. In the oral stage, the infant focuses on the mouth and on pleasures derived from eating and sucking. Orally deprived children become fixated, that is, development becomes arrested. Thus, such children may become orally aggressive, sarcastic, or may not trust anybody throughout their life. Anal stage, that is 2 to 3 years. In the anal stage, the child focuses on pleasures of controlling or releasing bowels. Personality that develops at this stage includes obstinacy, stinginess, orderliness, disorderliness, creativity, and productivity. Phallic stage, that is between 3 and 4 years. At 4 years, the genitals becomes the principal source of pleasure. At the initial stage, the child associates with the parent of the opposite sex. That is, the boy desires his mother and wishes to eliminate and replace his father. The girl also associates with the father, electoral complex. The association or attachment with either of the parents is as a result of response to the demand of libido. Such attachment forms the basis for heterosexual behaviors of the child in the future when he or she gets married. Latent or latency stage, that is between 6 to 11 years. At this stage, sexuality is on hold and therefore libidoral energy is not focused on a specific area of the body. There is temporary repression of sexual interest and pleasure is derived from the external world, pair interactions. 2. The child at this stage is of school age, therefore he or she becomes more curious and he or she acquires knowledge from the peer group in school. Genital stage, that is between the ages of 12 and 18 years. This lasts through the adult years. Pleasure is again focused on the genital area, but the individual seeks more than self-satisfaction that is typical of phallic stage. At this stage, the child is fond of heterosexual behavior, that is, having interest in opposite sex. The theory helps us to understand that the behavior of individuals, clients, or patients may be unconsciously motivated or expressed. They may also engage in different defense mechanisms which they may need to be helped over. All parts trait theory. This is one of the dispositional approaches to the development of human personality. Dispositional theories states that we have enduring and dominant personality qualities called dispositions that lead us to behave in certain ways and not others. Winter, 1960. Such disposition are traits, temperament, habits, motive goals, attitude, values, and cognitions. Allport, 1961, classified traits according to the extent to which they apply across situations. These are cardinal traits. This determines behavior in the widest range of circumstances. A cardinal trait essentially describes an individual's personality, affecting everything that the person does. For example, being famous for one's compassion. Central traits. Here, the personality's building blocks are not as broad or as dominant as cardinal traits, but they are still general. Even casual acquaintances rapidly see or notice them. They are captured by familiar adjectives such as outgoing, punctual, efficient, optimistic, and so on. Secondary traits. These are less conspicuous and less generalized than central traits. They typically apply in a limited range of circumstances. For example, Jide is grumpy in the morning. According to Allport, 1961, all of us possesses central and secondary traits, but only few people have cardinal traits. This theory is helpful in understanding the uniqueness of or differences in individuals, personalities, or behaviors. Learning theory of personality development. Rather than stressing internal disposition and enduring traits, learning theories have focused on acquired behaviors and the external environmental condition that influence them. The belief that our behavior is our personality and that is determined primarily by what we learn, for example, skills, knowledge, and way of reacting. According to them, personality differences among people came about because each person has learned different skills, knowledge, and behavior. One of the learning theories that will be examined in this study session is the Skinner's theory of personality. The theory was proposed by B.F. Skinner in 1938. He believed that learned behavior could explain all human behavior and personality. The theory holds that any behavior that is reinforced is capable of being repeated. That is, repeated pairing of a particular behavior with particular consequences leads to consistencies in behavior across situations, that is, personality. For example, if whining repeatedly produces the consequences of parental attention, then a positive reinforcer of the child will develop a whining personality. Similarly, if a child is reinforced each time he displays aggressive behavior, he will develop aggressive personality. The theory is applicable in areas where there is need to change undesirable behaviors to the desirable ones, or when we want to encourage good behavior or enhance good performance. Bandura social learning theory. The theory was proposed by Albert Bandura in 1977. The theory emphasizes personality development through observation, modeling, and imitation. The theory focuses on learning that takes place in a social context. The theory holds that we do not need to be rewarded, that is, reinforced, and we do not need to practice in order to learn new behaviors. We can learn by just observing other individuals, that is, a life or a symbolic model, perform the behavior. We especially intimate the behavior of others when beneficial consequences are observed to follow those behaviors. For instance, children may learn aggression by observing another child get into a fight and be rewarded for it. Some social learning theorists view the behavior of role models, for example, parents, as having important effect on personality development. They also hold the view that a person's behavior affects the environment, and the environment in turn affects the behavior. That is, the child's good behavior can be changed by the environment to bad behavior, like prostitution or armed robbery. Social learning theory is helpful in encouraging individuals suffering from various psychosocial problems to learn from others who have similar problems and have overcome such problems. Interpersonal theory. This was proposed by Sylvan in 1953. He believed that individual behavior and personality development are the direct result of interpersonal relationships. The stages of personality development are infancy, that is between birth and 18 months. During this stage, the major developmental task of the child is the gratification of needs. At this stage, the child experiences relief from anxiety through oral gratification of needs. Childhood, that is 18 months to 6 years. At these stages, the child learns that interference with fulfillment of personal wishes and desires may result in delayed gratification. He or she learns to accept this and feels comfortable with it, recognizing that delayed gratification often results in parental approval or more lasting type of reward. Juvenile, that is age 6 to 9 years. At this stage, the major task of the child is formation of satisfactory relationships with peer groups. This is accomplished through competition, cooperation, and compromise. Pre-adolescence, age 9 to 12 years. This is a stage when the child learns how to develop satisfactory relationships with persons of same sex. One's ability to collaborate with and show love and affection for another person begins at this stage. Early adolescence, 12 to 14 years. During early adolescence, the child is struggling with developing a sense of identity separate and independent from the parents. The major task at this stage is the formation of satisfactory relationships with members of the opposite sex. Late adolescence, 14 to 21 years. This stage is characterized by tasks associated with effort, endeavor to achieve independence with the society and the formation of a lasting intimate relationships with a selected members of the opposite sex. The genital organs are the major developmental focus of the stage. The theory is applicable when helping individuals to develop good interpersonal relationships, positive self-concept, self-esteem, self-confidence, and identity. Other theories of personality development are Erikson's theory of psychosocial development, Paget's cognitive development theory, Mailer's theory of object relations, Kohlberg's theory of moral development, Edler and Otto Ranke's theory of personality development. Study session summary. In this study session, we defined personality as the trait or qualities that single out one person from other persons. It was also defined as the characteristic pattern of behavior and modes of thinking that determine a person's adjustment to the environment. Personality may be categorized according to build or physique, psychological characteristics, behavior, social or mental disorders. Therefore, it may be obsessive, compulsive, paranoid, schizoid, introvert, extrovert, borderline personality, and so on. That ends study session 7.